you don't have any physical rest. You see, in Psalms 127:2, God says He gives His beloved sleep. You see, so sleep He is given to the beloved, and you're not His beloved there. You see, every good and perfect gift comes from above. It says in James 1:17. So you see, hell is absent of God's goodness. You don't get to breathe. You don't get to have fresh air. You don't get to have sunshine. You don't get any fellowship with anybody. You never get to be with people again. You're isolated from people. Even though there's people in that pit of fire, they're separated. There's no conversation. You'll never get to be with a person, never have a conversation again. All these things are blessings from God. You see, God gives all these good things that we enjoy. But when you remove God from the equation, which hell is, then there's no good thing in hell. All these things. You don't sleep. You don't eat. The smells are terrible, foul odors. And like I said, no air to breathe. And Isaiah 42:5 says, the Lord gives breath to the people upon the earth. These people are under the earth. And that's another thing. I knew I was down deep in the earth. And there's 49 scriptures that talk about where hell is right now. Okay, it's down deep in the earth. Now later, after Judgment Day, it says death and hell will be delivered up and cast into the lake of fire. But that's after Judgment Day. In Revelation 20:14 talks about. So, but right now, hell is down deep in the earth. And there's a lot of scriptures for that. Remember when Jesus descended into the lower parts of the earth and hell was separated by a gulf fixed? Talked about in Luke 16. Ezekiel 26:20 talks about where hell is, and Numbers 16:32. So many scriptures I could point out that would show you where hell is. But I understood that I was down deep in the earth, about 3,700 miles deep. And somehow I knew it was 3,700 miles down. So we know that the diameter is 8,000 miles, so that 4,000 is the radius. So I was close to the center of the earth. And I don't know how I knew that again, but I knew that's how deep it was. Like that pit of fire, it was about a mile across. And that's a big pit of fire. But there were individual pits of fire all around that big pit, where people were in their own individual pits also. There are other prison cells in hell. Some people are in prison cells, pits of fire, a lake of fire, this big, huge lake of fire. And so there's all different places in hell. And there's all different levels of torment. And not all has the same torment or punishment. And there's a lot of scriptures of that. Remember where Matthew 23:14 talks about, therefore you shall receive the greater damnation, inferring there's a lesser damnation. Or it shall be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah than for that city, inferring there's a less tolerable. A servant beaten with many stripes or beaten with few. Hebrews 10:28 talks about how much sorer punishment suppose shall you receive. And so there's a sorer punishment. You make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. There's a lot of scriptures on the different levels of torment, but none of them are good. Okay, all of them are bad. Every single level. There isn't any nice spot in hell. So it's not a place you want to go to. Now, I thought about, when I was down there, I thought about my wife. And I thought about I could never get to her again. I'd never get out. She'd never know where I was at. She never could find me. I couldn't get out. And that thought to me was really tormenting. To live with that for eternity, that she would never know where I was and I would never get to her. She would never know what happened to me. That was horrifying to me. And I've always told my wife I'd get to her no matter what happens. If we're in an earthquake and we're separated that day, I'll get to her. I'll find her. And I couldn't get to her. So another thing that you just have to endure there is being separated from your loved ones. I thought about people up on the earth. I understood that there was a whole world going on up here, but that the people up here don't realize there's a whole world going on down there. Most people don't realize that there's millions of people down there that used to live up here on the surface. And they're all there, tormented. And they used to live here and live their life just like you and I. Walking the earth, doing their thing, and enjoying their families. And now they're eternally lost in this place, and they'll never see their families. They'll never see anyone. I thought about, just for a second, I had flashbacks of I wanted to eat a good meal. I have a drop of water. Water was so precious. I just wanted one drop, like the rich man said. One drop would have been so special. And so I really value water highly now. My wife and I both, I carry water everywhere we go. And I have a bar at home. I collect water from around the world. So if you don't like water, you want to learn to love it. Because, when my wife poured it for me when we returned, she poured me a glass of water. And it just all of a sudden, it was life in a glass. See, water represents life. It talks about that in Revelation 21. And it just was amazing for me to look at water and think, there's life in this. And see, and there's no life in hell. So there's no water in hell. Zechariah 9:11 talks about thy prisoners in the pit where there is no water. And a lot of other scriptures. But water is so precious now. Matter of fact, I'm going to have a drink. So. Anyway, so like I said, I thought about everybody up on the earth, and there's no way to get out of this place. Absolutely no way out. You couldn't get out no matter what, but I could understand eternity there. Like here, you can't quite grasp eternity. We think of time as having a beginning and an end, right? It's got to end somewhere. We think of timeline. But in your spirit body, you can understand eternity. So I could grasp that I was going to be there forever, and I would never, ever get out. So, the torments are terrible that you have to endure. But the worst part is that you'll never get out. You'll suffer for eternity. And I think I would like to show, before I get to the good part of meeting Jesus, I'd like you guys to see this little 3-minute video we put together. Mary Kay Baxter and myself put together a little short video. And her and I watched different Hollywood movies to try to find something that looked realistic about hell, something that would look real. And so it's as good as it can get for Hollywood, but it's far short of what it really was like. She saw a woman running. It was a spirit of fear chasing this woman for eternity through hell. I don't know how the woman had strength to run, because I didn't have any strength, but there's a lot of things I didn't see in hell. Hell's a big place, and the Lord only showed me part of it. So if she saw that, you'll see again where Kenneth Hagin's testimony, where he's being drawn up to the gates, and you'll see that creature that I saw. And then you'll see people hung on crosses. And Mary Kay talked about that, where people that mocked the cross, that are hung on crosses for eternity. So that's part of what you'll see. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of a visual. It's just 3 minutes long, and then we'll get back to the good part about Jesus.